Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the Morning Mindset. This recording is intended to help you today to get your mind aligned with the truth of God. Because when your mind is aligned with how God thinks about the world, you are able to live in the world in a way that is aligned with Him. I hope that makes sense. It's really pretty simple. The way that we think is what dictates the way we live. There's just no other way around it. And the way we think is based upon what we believe. You see, belief is a powerful thing. And I'm not talking about belief of something that's not true. Like if you believed you could fly, you might go do something crazy like jump off of a house and think you're just going to float up into the air. You see, that's not the kind of belief I'm talking about. I'm talking about belief that has a foundation, belief that is rooted in reality. And here's the kicker. Reality is not always something we can see, correct? I mean, think about the wind. We see the effects of the wind, but we don't see the wind itself. We benefit from oxygen, but we don't see oxygen itself. Yet we believe those things are there. In a similar but not identical way, there are spiritual realities, things true in a spiritual realm, in the spiritual sense, that impact the way we live each and every day. But we don't see them readily. We don't always notice them going on around us because we haven't developed the eyes to be able to see. And the Morning Mindset is here to help you look into the scriptures and understand those things, to begin to see those things, so that you can live in light of those realities. I believe that's really missing in our lives a lot, because we go about our day functioning on a physical level based on what we can see and touch and taste and feel and hear. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. It's just that it's an incomplete picture. You see, the full picture is the one that God sees that includes the spiritual dimension of life. And the scriptures are what reveal that dimension to us. The scriptures show us what is true in the spiritual realm as well as in the physical realm, even in the realm of concepts that God Himself knows. Now, we've been looking at Romans chapter 8, and we're down to verse 35. And this is an incredible question that the Apostle Paul raises. He says, "Who shall separate us from the love of Christ?" Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Now think about how you separate things. I remember as a kid watching my mom strain things with a strainer. She would have some liquid that had little particles in it, and she would pour the liquid through a cheesecloth or through a strainer in order to catch those larger things and let the smaller things, the molecules of liquid, pass through. Because she didn't want those grains or particles that were being caught to be in her final product as she began her baking or her cooking. You see, we see this principle in operation all the time. We use things like fuel filters on cars, or air filters on different appliances, or dust filters on a vacuum cleaner. You see, we know what it means to separate things. And the Apostle Paul is saying, who will separate us from the love of Christ? So, in other words, who will run us through a filter to the degree that it can be effective in pulling us away from the love of God? Can that really happen? And the short answer is no. We're going to look at this a little more in depth. But for now, let's just remember that God has placed His love upon us through Jesus Christ in a way that cannot be lost. It cannot be lost. We're going to look at that more in depth tomorrow. Invite a friend, someone you know who needs to know the love of God deeply, and join me tomorrow for the Morning Mindset.